If you could give someone a piece of advice, what would it be?
One, you have to find the edge for the level that you're in. I'll give you an easy example. Layout drops. You wait to get there on Saturday and get your ass kicked and figure out how the layout works. Or you look at the layout, you name all the bunkers, you draw out some game plans, figure out where you're going to go on the field, get your ass out there early on Saturday morning, get out on the field while everyone's putting on their pajama suits, get out on the field, look around, get ideas, get down the field, like have a plan. So then when you say game on, like you have an edge. You just gave yourself an edge.
PaintballNerd.
Today's guest on PaintballNerd started playing paintball in 1998. He went pro in 2001 with Avalanche. He's played for Miami Effect, Infamous, Excessive, Dynasty. He's a world-renowned coach for Team Dynasty. In 2018, he started Constant Pursuit, building websites for fields around the world. He's a BKI professor. He owns PaintballWincount.com. He's a father of 4. He's a club soccer coach. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, paintball legend, Rusty Glaze.
Man, that's a heck of an intro. I might just have you go places with me.
Well, that's you. That's you, man. We left a lot out.
We come into a restaurant and you do all that. Man, I'll be on the spot.
roll out a red carpet for you.
Yeah.
Have some streamers going.
Yeah, I like that.
That'd be good. Rusty, dude, how did you discover paintball?
That's kind of a funny story. My buddy Josh Hill he worked the summer as like a janitor or helping out like a janitor. So he was probably just doing the legwork, but they paid him with like a Tippmann 98 paintball gun. So we were like, okay, let's so we started we were using it to shoot like cars and other things. Like he wasn't playing paintball. So we went to the paintball field to collect paintballs so that we could just do mischief. And we were gathering like bags of paintballs and throwing them. Like we'd drive down the road and like throw them out and then hit our other buddy's windshield and stupid stuff like that. But like while we're out there like collecting paintballs, we're like, dude, this looks pretty cool. Like we're going behind bunkers and like Easter egg hunting for all this stuff. And we're like, we should try this. Like you have equipment. Like we should get some equipment and come out here and like play this. And that's kind of how we came about playing it, as like getting into it.
Was this in Bonsall or was this in Texas?
That was Camp Pendleton. So I lived in Bonsall, but we drove over to Camp Pendleton to like raid the paintball field for like paintballs, just picking them up on the ground.
So you guys had means of transportation to go to the paintball field, but you went there after hours to steal paintballs off the ground.
Yeah, like when the field was closed, we were just a weekday. We're like out there just like bagging up paint off the ground in the target range or wherever we could find like solid ones. So we just had like a whole random rainbow bag just sitting in our car so we could just do stupid stuff. But then
how did that lead to like you getting your own gear?
So we're like, let's go try to play. This will be cool. So we went and played, and then we're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Like let's all get stuff. And we sort of, there wasn't like people that in my high school I knew of that played paintball. There was like skaters and surfers and like jocks and all the different sports. There wasn't like paintball guys. There was a couple guys that played paintball, but all like independently. Like they weren't like a group of people that played paintball. This guy played, that guy played, which we figured out as we started getting into it. But we like brought in like tons of dudes to play. We all started reffing at the field. So at high school, we became the paintball guys because other people would show up to the paintball park and we're like there playing and reffing, and so we were known as like the paintball guys. So we sort of formed that in our high school as like a thing, and that's what we're known at.
And the Sitting Ducks is where Sitting Ducks played at Camp Pendleton. I imagine that's how you ended up on that team.
Yeah. So we would be there playing like, like as you go through recreational, you're like fully camo and like trying to lay low. And then you start to like transition to like, I know these fields and I'm good at them. And like, now I'm going to wear like an orange shirt or like bright stuff to like tease the other team of like, show who's who. So the Sitting Ducks were out there like practicing, and they saw us playing, and they were like, hey, you should come out to we're having a tryout next weekend, like you should come out. And we're like, okay. You're like in a transition where you're sort of bored playing like the same fields and you've mastered them, like go here, do this, like it all becomes like super staple. So okay, let's go see. Like I don't know much about tournaments. They asked me and my brother to go out. For those that don't know, Gator Glaze They asked us both to come out to a tryout. So we're like, okay, like that's crazy. I don't know how it's going to go. We show up and it's just like, it wasn't much different than what we are doing. It was just like A to B to C, just taking down guys, bunkering people's like, so right away I was like, there was a big tryout. There's probably like 40 people out trying out for these teams. So it wasn't like we were the only people that showed up. Like there was tons of players. But we were just like eating people up, and we're like, all right, I think we have a good chance of like making this team because like I think we're like the better people out here. So, and then we ended up putting together like our rookie year. We had a like solid squad of players that we were on, and then Chucky was like a main staple of the Sitting Ducks, and he was novice, and he was like the captain of our rookie team. So we had like leadership from him. So it was a pretty fun time getting into it, and we did well like pretty fast. So first tournament we go to, I can remember is like clear as day, like my first game in the tournament. It was a Vegas field, it was a Vegas tournament, and it's like super brushy. Like they just drove a bulldozer and like figures to like make the field. That's what I imagine like how they created this. It was like pass, but then not, and like bush. And then they just ran caution tape around a section and was like, all right, put a flag here and here and like call it a day. That's sort of how they shaped fields back then.
Yeah.
So there was like a side that had like gunfighting and all kinds of cool stuff. And then there was a side that was just straight up like you just had to like meander through like brush and sticks, no path. That was the side I had to play. So I went through this like sticks, and if I came out of the other end, I'd probably be in a good position to shoot someone or find another guy doing that. By the time I did all that, everyone was dead. And I just went and got the flag. That was it. Everyone had like, I just came out and I was walking around the field like, where is everyone? And then I went and got the flag and hung it. And that was like my first 5-man game. But I was like, that was sweet.
You mentioned like you're transitioning and start like from camo and starting to wear, stuff that was a little bit more bright. And I think the world wants to know, Rusty, where did the helicopter hat come from?
I don't remember how like I found that, but that was also part of the like stick it to like who all the people that are like dressed super code and super serious. It was like, I don't care. We'll just wear like orange mask, spinner hat. Like it just doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to play good anyways, despite all this like nonsense. Which later, like I didn't obviously keep that hat throughout after I started getting more serious, I was like, I don't want to be known as like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have like, I don't want to be the guy that has, oh, that's the propeller hat guy. I was like, that's not what, like, I want my game to speak for itself and be known for just playing good or paintball. So I sort of just, the way we transitioned out was we started taking, we saw Greg Posey on PGI Magazine, and he had a headband on that said Image, like a bandana. Well, we didn't really have access. So we started taking khaki pants and like cutting them into strips and then sewing our own headbands out of pants. So we ended up just having our own bootleg headbands, and we made those. Awesome. And we went and got them embroidered. So they said like, it looked like the Image ones, but they just said Asylum on them. So that's kind of how
do you have those?
I bet my brother probably has one somewhere. I have some Asylum jerseys like tucked away, but I don't know if I have a headband like fully embroidered.
That's awesome. Asylum. That was the team you went to after the Sitting Ducks, right?
Yeah, they were sort of a team that was like more senior to like our group. We were like a camp full of like mostly rookie teams. Didn't have a great novice team. I think we had one, but like it was a lot of like intro. Our tournament team, Sitting Ducks, was mostly like intro. Like they gathered people and got them into tournaments. Asylum was a little bit more organized, a little more competitive. So they were like, so sort of the split with Sitting Ducks happened kind of like this. We went to Portland, Oregon, and we practiced all week. I don't even know why we went to the tournament so early. I just don't remember. Like we were there for like days ahead of the tournament and like practicing the woods fields in Portland at Splat Action. There was a local team there called Splat Action. Somehow we hooked up with them to practice. I don't know if we just showed up in the parking lot and they were in the parking lot and we're like, hey, do you want to play paintball? Something like that happened. But we just started practicing them, and they're like, hey, do you want to play 10-man on Friday? You guys are pretty good. You guys want to join up and play 10-man? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. So we played 10-man with them, and we won the 10-man event as a rookie team in the novice division. It was like the first time most rookie teams go in and just get waxed.
Yeah.
So like we came out and won the tournament against like against like Cat Factory and like named teams at that time. So we're like, okay, we go into Fresno. and we had an A team and a B team. And instead of pulling from our B team, we pulled from Splat Action players because we're like, hey, these guys are really good. We just won a tournament. We brought 2 of them onto our 5-man team. That created a lot of animosity within the team. And we're just like thinking, hey, like we're clicking with these guys. We ended up winning Fresno. It's like, what's the problem? Like we found some good players that we click with, and we formed a good squad, and we won the tournament. But they were more about like you should work from within the organization. They didn't want to like grab guys. So we were kind of just like, well, we're just going to focus on trying to win and put together teams. So when we went to Asylum, it was me, my brother, and a kid named Josh. And we didn't have any other players. Like the other slots were just roaming slots. We'd pick up like Anson Hong. We would grab, we would just kept picking up different people. Whoever was playing hot at SC Village, we're like, hey, come play this next tournament with us. So we would ref tournaments, and we had like a bank account. So we like flew a guy down. Like we were like a novice team that had like some pretty good flex to like, and it was fun because we would just be like, hey, play JP, play the next one with us or whatever. We had like a lot of flex like that. So we had a pretty cool team.
Yeah, I remember it, dude. I remember definitely looking up to you guys, and I feel like a lot of my paintball childhood was spent at your house. You know, like you and Gator were already moving on to Asylum and then Heavy Hitters and Check It and stuff like that. And while I was on the Sitting Ducks, but I just remember, dude, being at your house on the weekends, and you know, the old Ironman VHS would be on the TV.
Oh yeah.
We'd be going through photos, like suitcases full of photos that your mom took.
Yeah.
And just being in a house where the whole family seemed to be consumed with this sport. All of them were in. And that was foreign to me because like I was the only one who played paintball in my family. Yeah. You know? So what was it like to grow up in a household where it's like, this is what we do, we're the paintball family?
It was cool. Like honestly, like me and my brother got into it. I had a job so I could buy paintballs, but my dad sort of had to support my brother, and I would give him paint too, but he would ask my dad for money to go play paintball, and he'd be like, I need like a case of paint. It's like 2,000 rounds. And my dad was like angry because he like used to hunt deer and everything. And he's like, I used to hunt deer. I'd take like 7 rounds out on a hunt with me. And like, you know, you need to start aiming and hitting like what you're shooting at. And we're just like, dude, you don't get it. So we're like, all right, we invited him. We're like, all right, just come play with us so you have an idea of like what we're doing. And then he came out and he shot like it's twice as much paint as both of us. So then from there, he's like, okay, I get it. Like these are like little water balloons that like, you know, they're not like bullets where you just like sight in and hit things. Like you got to just put some volume out. There's suppression to put people in and make moves. Like he would lay down cover fire for us. So he kind of like understood it after that. But prior to that, he was just like, you guys are wasting money and like, what are you doing? But so then he would come out and watch us, and he really enjoyed it. And then my mom was doing like a lot of pictures, and she had a photography background, so she would come to tournaments, and they sort of carved out their own little niche, outside of us. Like they weren't just our parents; they knew lots of people, and they had the photo booths and stuff like that. So they sort of went on their own. That sort of died off like as we started traveling internationally and going all around the nation. But when we were like West Coast players, like they were at everything.
Yeah, for sure. They were, people knew them independently of you guys, which was cool.
Yeah, and they're out in Tennessee. They're out near Knoxville.
No kidding. I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nikki's in. I think Nikki's in Knoxville, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's about 45 minutes from my parents. So like if I go see them, then I'll like journey over to his house and hang out for a bit.
Right on. So Rusty, how'd you come up with Constant Pursuit?
I feel like it had no connection to like the team Constant Pursuit or Fred Schultz or anything like that. It was more like, I feel like that's sort of my life is like, I'm in constant pursuit of like with the websites, constant pursuit of like making them better, finding a new way that's going to improve it. And that was just kind of like how I approached paintball and sports is like, you're in a constant pursuit of like the next thing and getting better every day. You're trying to be a little bit better. So it's just a constant pursuit. And that was sort of the mindset behind the name.
Well, how did you come up with the idea? Because, you know, as children, I'll call it, like, I don't remember you being computer savvy. And now you have kind of like this franchise-like model for creating websites for fields. And I know when I go onto a website, if you're involved, like it has an appeal to it. It has a look to it. It has a branding to it. So how did you get involved in actually building the website?
So I was up. It was actually an idea of Owen from WDP Angel. I don't know if you remember Owen.
Yeah,
He was
sure.
a pretty stable figure. So we were buddies in Canada. We worked together at Badlands. And when I was leaving Badlands, he worked with all the dealers in Canada, and they, like, a lot of them had poor quality websites, and he had to deal with them. And he's trying to get them to do more business because he's selling wholesale to them. So when I was leaving, he's like, I'm at his house hanging out. He's like, you should just start a business and build websites for all these fields and help them out. And I was like, all right, that's interesting. Like, I had a sort of a background. I built some WordPress sites, like hobby sites and different things. So I was like, all right, I'll look into it. And then I started looking at like what tools would work to do that, what the market looks like, how many fields there are. Then I reached out to like people I knew pretty well from the industry, or guys I either sold to when I worked in the industry for different companies. So I got about 5 contracts signed before I ever even started the company. So the only website I really built on the platform was my own, which was like, you build a site to show you're legit. And then I was like, all right, I signed up these fields, and then I had to like, okay, I got these contracts, and I got to like figure out like how I'm actually going to build these websites. And, obviously did a lot of research and started putting together and finding the common parts and what people like. But the whole idea of it was, my idea is like, I want someone to go to a website and then go, oh, dude, this looks awesome, and then send the link to someone else.
Yeah.
So like, hey, buddy, like we should go play at this paintball field, like check it out. And he sends it. And I don't know that we're all the way there with like the storytelling, to be honest with you. Like, fields are pretty crippled, in my opinion. I deal with a lot of them, but like, people that sell vacuum cleaners sometimes tell a better story than people that shoot guns at each other. With like, we have a cool sport, but like the storytelling is mostly isolated to like the highest end of the sport. So like all the videographers, all the photographers, they're mostly all in like the highest 3% of the sport with like tournament guys. The rest of the media is left to no one, and it's very sparse, and it's very hard. You don't have like super dope images that like get people excited. There's not a surplus of that at all.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm starting with someone on a website, I'm like, all right, send me all your images, and I'm just like, like, okay, well, and I have learned and developed ways to make it work, but like, it's not their fault. It's not like they're photographers and they're out like, some are pretty good and some hire people, but like, that's one of the most challenging parts, because like your videos and your images make it pop. Just like on your site, you have that video with all the like flashing sort of stuff going on. Like, that's interesting. So they need more of that. And it's, I wish there was a united force in the industry to like, let's create really good content on a baseline and let people use that to like, it'll feed the whole system. People see it, they get excited, they go play paintball. Now everyone's like making good.
Yeah, if the industry as a whole could kind of unite and say, what do we need to do to get more players playing the game? It doesn't matter if it's this guy's field or that guy's field. If people start playing paintball more, it benefits all of us. And I think if more conversations like that happened, we could create something like that, like a stock photo and stock video database that everyone could use that helps grow the sport.
And I think people don't know what it is that, like, honestly, create a bachelor party video that's like super sizzle with like dudes like, create a separate different video that's like kids having a blast shooting each other, and that's a birthday party or whatever. Like, have these themed videos that you just plug right in the sites. Looking up bachelor party, it's like there's a video that everyone can use that's like great. I'll have all these pieces in place, but that's where I want to get to. And either I'm gonna have to hire someone to like create content and so I can use it, but I feel like that's still limiting, because I would use it for all my clients, but there's so many more that I don't deal with that like they can't just wait for me to like downstream catch them and help them. Like, people need help now, so the industry does better now.
Well, I think if more people buy into the idea of kind of corporatizing their paintball fields and seeking help to have a more professional image, seeking services like Constant Pursuit, I think we'll start to see more of it. but like paintball by nature of the sport is kind of like this. Well, it's getting out of it, but it is kind of like this like renegade thing, where it's like come out and shoot people with paintballs. But the fields that are adopting the more of a sport and marketing it to birthdays and bachelor parties and stuff like that are thriving, obviously,
It is interesting because one of my clients in Pennsylvania who used to run, it's TR Paintball, they used to run the Zap Amateur Open. So they were like big in paintball. They ran a lot of tournaments. So I'm like building their website and I'm dealing with Ryan. And then eventually he's like, hey, like you have a pretty good knowledge of like paintball and marketing. Like, are you involved in the industry at all? And I just start laughing. Like, that is just fantastic. Like, it's so segmented away from like tournament paintball. Like these guys are just running a successful paintball business with no like everyone in tournament paintball is like, yeah, we got to grow the sport. Like, and then you have these successful fields that don't even know who's who over there. It's like such a little bubble. It was great. It just made me laugh. I was like, that's fantastic, man. Like, and I just didn't even go into it. I was like, yeah, I've been in the sport for a bit. Like I have a little bit of background in it. I just left it at that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But it just made me think like there is a big gap between like what the tournament people think they're growing. They're really just growing the sport. Then there's the rest of the people that are providing this game of entertainment.
That's a good way of putting it. I would say that certainly tournament players grow the sport. And I feel that that's what got me into continuing to play the game is I saw what was possible. I saw David Williamson out at Borderland Paintball and I was like, dude, you do like, this is what you do. Like, tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, tell me how to get a job in paintball and be a professional paintball player.
Yeah. There's definitely
so
like
you need that.
Mm-hmm.
You need that for like, the recreational players. They need to see something to aspire to.
Yeah.
But then you need the fields to get in new players. They need to step up their infrastructure. They need to have good bathrooms. They need to have creating a good experience. The refs need to sell it, right? I think the biggest underutilized tool in paintball is the refs. The refs need to reinforce the experience that these first-time players are having and making sure that they had a good experience and they made a good decision by coming out to the paintball field.
Yes.
So we're all needed to help grow the sport, but we all need to do it. Like we need to put in the effort,
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the refs don't have as much. I guess we were like enthusiasts. So like when you're reffing, you're like into it. You're like trying to tell people, hey, just move over here. And like, you'll like for sure, like be able to shoot some people. Like you're sort of guiding them along. I feel like a lot of refs now are just asleep at the wheel.
Totally.
It's like, oh, this is like a job. They're paying me. I'm in between. I'm on my phone. It's like, they're not as engaged. So they're not engaging people to get addicted.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like it was more competitive when we reffed. I feel like if you worked hard, you went from beginner walk-ons to advanced walk-ons. Then you moved from there to being able to do private groups. And if you did private groups, you could earn tips. And that was like the cool thing to do.
Yeah. And if refs did their job well, the guy that came out every weekend, like, the ref knew him by name. Like it was like a thing that you showed up and these were your people. Like, yes, he was a ref, but like this was your group, And
I feel like there's other stuff where it's like, I sometimes just like, seriously, like this is your equipment at this point sometimes. I have no parks to name, but like I've been to parks and I'm just like, this is shoddy. It's like a first time person is like, I guess this is how they do it. But I'm thinking like these goggles, these goggles look like someone cleaned them with a chainsaw across the front. I don't even know why we have single lens goggles exist. I don't know why we haven't created
cheaper.
I don't know why we haven't created, like, the biggest problem in paintball is this for new. And I've heard, so I'll give you an example. I'm out to dinner with a baseball team of my brother-in-law, and it's like a wealthy area. All these people make money. And this guy's telling me a story, and he's like, yeah, we went and played paintball. He's like, it was awful. And I'm like, where'd you go? He's like, CPX. I'm like, CPX, that's like a top field in the nation. And he's like, yeah, well, my goggles, I couldn't see a damn thing all day. He's like, all day long, they're just fogged up. I couldn't see anything. And I'm just like, how have we not solved this problem? That's an industry problem. Why is there not like the tech to like have a lens that just doesn't fog? And why put out a goggle that fogs? To me, I was like, if I
Good
ever open a
question.
field, I'm going to have goggles that don't fog. That seems like a no-brainer. People have a good time. They come back.
Yeah, thermal lenses, maybe some soft foam. The thing is like, I understand the reasons that these things don't exist. You know, it's like because they're expensive.
So manufacturers should sell thermal lenses at cost to a field. You could sell
Yeah,
them in
or
retail for whatever. Sell them to the field like, hey, if you're going to use thermal lenses in your goggle, we'll just give them to you whatever above cost, so they're not like losing money and all that, but like low price. Like this is an experience piece for you to sell more paintballs.
yeah. Or, you know, that like the fields could just recognize too, like we've already recouped our costs on this goggle by renting it out 3 times. Let's just put a new lens in it. Like, you know, that's not a big deal either. So,
and there could be,
I mean,
like maybe there's better tech. Maybe there's a better way to design a lens that, or a goggle that just doesn't fog. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say, I can only tell you the problem. I don't have the solution, but someone is in that niche of the market that can figure it out.
Yeah, all you lens manufacturers out there in Taiwan, figure it out.
Yes, get on it. Get a rental goggle that's durable and has a lens that doesn't fog. And that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Grow the sport. Oh, another thing too. I was talking to Ryan Greenspan about the similar topic, and bright paintballs. Don't give out brown paintballs that you can't see coming out of your gun. You know, that doesn't create a good experience. The guys want to see this brightly colored thing flying towards someone and burst on someone's goggles. That's the experience that gets you coming back, you know?
Yes.
So
that's a top down thing.
Yeah.
So like tournament paintball, like why do they shoot dark shell paintballs even though they have a webcast and everything? Why do they do that?
Because you can't see them.
Right.
Your opponent can't see them.
But why do they do that? What's the core reason that people shoot those paintballs? Because team owners are who owns the league. It's not owned by someone that's like, yeah, you know, you're going to shoot neon or orange colored balls so that it's better visibility. You lose an advantage when you shoot like a tennis ball.
Yeah.
So the league owners are the team owners. So the team owners don't want to like create a rule that's like, at some point you go, do we want butts and seats in this to be interesting? And maybe that makes it harder for us to compete. But if you're all shooting the same paintball, the advantage becomes neutral.
Exactly. Right? If everyone has an advantage, no one does.
Right. So you sort of just have to commit like, hey, you know what? Let's just try this and see how it films. Like test it. Get the people that do the film. Is it white? Is it neon? Is it orange? What's the color that like can at least pick up some sort of stream? So you have an idea of like when a guy's doing stuff, you're like, okay, I can see that he's like shooting at that guy somewhat.
Yeah. And that's important because there's no focal point really in paintball. You know, in other sports, we have the ball, the puck, whatever it is.
That's funny because I just said on Oliver's thing, I said, dude, that looks like a really cool concept, but you should really try and shoot a bright paint. You're basically playing hockey with a white puck.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he thought that's, you know, he liked it. And, you know, hopefully that's something they can adopt because they have enough. They're trying something new and different. So, you know, why not just add that and see if that works?
I think it will, man. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook is seeing that stream come out, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think I like the idea of what Oliver's doing with his one-on-one. Brandon Short did it with the Pro Tour, but like the part that I really liked as sort of my nerd side is this standardized layout. Yeah. Like right now, like I could follow a tournament right now and I'm watching the layout and I'm like I can watch patterns and figure out like what's what and how this should play or whatever. But like I've done this at a very high level. I'm very advanced at this. What's your average person? They look at this and like, oh, what do all these inflatables mean? Like there's no, even the commentators trying to pick up what is the like thing on this field. Whereas like if you had like football, it's a field and they run plays. Yeah. And then you build off that. Like we just have like, here's the layout. And then you splash in and like figure it out. And it's so random. Yeah. So it's like, how do you get someone to be interested in what's completely random almost every single time? What other sport is like that? Impossible. I guess maybe motocross. I mean, even golf courses are standard as in like you've played that course and you come back to it, more like a hyperball field. Air balls, like they take a
It's
bag of
different.
bones and throw it out on the thing and be like, yeah, that looks pretty good.
I love
Like,
Paintball.
yeah, Hyperball is awesome. You had the Chicago fields, you had SD Village with like their fields, like, and if you return year after year, like next year, like we watch this team, let's do this as our strategy. Let's pick up a guy that can run to the snake. Like you built
Yeah.
teams and strategies around like knowing you're coming to events. Now it's
Dude,
best guess.
speaking of your nerd side, I was checking out PaintballWincount.com. For those that don't know, Rusty, what is PaintballWincount.com?
So Paintball Wincount is just a simple site to track who wins what tournament. And I dated all the way back to 93. It got really hard to figure out anything before the start of the MPPL. And I did like deep dives on like finding people that posted a magazine article. I went through every magazine I had and like found like, okay, at this 96 event, Aftershock took first or whatever. Like I had to like, it took me a while. I just built an Excel sheet, name of event, and there's still question marks in there. Like if anyone could fill in the blanks, like get on there and tell me, like, I guess tell me and then tell me someone else that can validate your truth.
Hey, in 2004 NPPL Super 7 San Diego, we beat the Ironman, Bob Long's Ironman, not Nexus.
I thought Nexus was the Russian Legion at the time. They didn't make the finals.
They were. They
But
didn't
made
make the finals.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
See? There you go. I know they beat us on the way. So.
Oh, you're playing it at Excessive during that time, right?
No, I was with Infamous.
Oh, you were with Infamous. Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't play you guys in the semis, did we?
No, you were in the other bracket. We were in the one that had Nexus and someone else.
Gotcha.
I think we had Bob Long. We beat them, but then we got toasted by the Russians. No, I think we just had the Russians. I think we played Bob Long in the prelims. We had the Russians, and it was one per division came out. That's what it was. You had 4 divisions, and one team per division came out of each one to make the finals, Final Four.
So that's why we need websites like this.
Yeah. But it was a deep dive on like getting all that. Now it's just like easy maintenance. There's like one major league to keep track of. So I have to add damage. I haven't done that yet, but I'll add them for the latest win.
Well, it's on. So everything before like 2008 or whatever is on PB Leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff before that is what doesn't exist, can't be tracked unless you go to like the Warpig archives and stuff like that.
I had to go all through Warpig, read their articles. To, like sometimes it's deep in their article, like the results or whatever. So I go through each article, hoping they wrote something about the tournament, or I go through the picture gallery and like they'd have a picture of the people that won. I'm like, okay, Avalanche won this one, got it. It was like it was a mixture of finding it. Yeah, it's cool. I really like the visual aspect of like where you can see where teams went on runs or whatever, like when they were, hit some wins. It was not easy to get wins. I'll tell you that much.
No. So who's the winningest team in paintball?
Of all time? Dynasty.
Of all time.
Hands down. Yeah.
Okay. And that would mean that the greatest, most winningest person of all time is
Ryan by like maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, and Poopy's right behind him.
No, Ryan is way up. Oliver would be like, it'd be like Ryan, Alex, Yosh, and then Oliver because he took that time off.
Yeah.
And then Ryan would have got the edge over Alex, probably from like a Euro win or something that Alex didn't go to. I think he had like 1 over Alex. And then Alex missed World Cup with us when we won, so Yosh would get 1 over Alex there. There's like a little bit of like here and there where Alex would have a kid or Yosh would miss it because he was having a kid. So there's some, you'd have to really zoom in to like who missed what event, but they're like so far up there. It's everyone else like maybe's in like 20-30s. It would be like high, like some of those guys back in the day. They're like 60s somethings, and you have the run they're on now. Like they're way up there.
So because Poop was saying that you told him. So this came secondhand. Poop was saying that you told him that he was the winningest person in paintball, and you had it like documented somewhere.
He is. No, he must have read that wrong. He is just a winner. That is what I told him. The winningest person's Ryan. He seems to just win. Like he plays all these 7-mans and like he wins with like they play a 5-man and a 7-man, a 10-man or whatever on the weekend. They'll go to the like event and like the NXL event, and he'll win all
Mhm.
the things that no one's looking at.
Yeah,
So he's over there sweeping
true.
all the like amateur things and five mans and
Definitely.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and he won a lot when he was professional and he was a big time player. And now he's probably one of the most winning like people. I mean, he's a great guy,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's like someone you'd want to play with because he just has the magic, and
Yeah, he loves to
plays
win.
to win.
And
Yeah,
got the hip shot, can't beat that.
yeah. But the duration of Ryan and how long he's playing right now is like, I don't know. That's if you want to match that, like you have to give up your whole life.
You have to give up your whole life. And it's not just the fact that he's been playing forever. It's not just the fact that he's won a lot. It's the fact that he is amazing on the paintball field right now to this day. Like he goes on the field and gets shit done. Like,
Yeah, no,
incredible.
I mean, he's been good for the longest period of time.
Yes.
And there'd be a time like a long time ago where like, okay, he's one of the best players. And there were still guys that like were in the category like this guy. These are all solid dudes. And we'd be like, my opinion, I think Ryan's one of the best guys. Me and John Richardson would say, I think he's one of the best players playing right now.
Yeah.
This was like when there was more of a debate with other players. Now you're like, there's so much separation, and like you could see the path where people stopped playing and did different things that were in that category, and Ryan's still competing at a high level. It's ridiculous.
Well, I felt when Oliver went back to Dynasty, or when he went to Dynasty from the Ironman, and the following years after that, and Oliver was kind of at the height of his game. I thought Ryan was better. Who the fuck am I to say anything, right? But I still thought I thought Ryan was the better guy. I think he has more flag pulls and flag hangs.
They're two different types, really. Ryan is very masterfully technical, very sound,
precise,
very precise, very calculated. Oliver's very free flowing. He likes to like just make it happen some way or another. If the game plan breaks, he's like, I don't care. If the game plan breaks for Ryan, he's pissed at everyone in front of him and he goes down the field and shoots everyone.
Yeah.
If the game plan breaks for Oliver, he doesn't see it as a break. It's just more like that's what happens, and he'll just paint from there.
Yeah.
So
he's an artist.
Yeah, there's sort of a different mindset, different but both successful. And then you put both on the same team, it's like you have the best
Incredible.
of both worlds.
Yeah. It's amazing that these two ended up on the same team, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because they would be like bash each other in the room, and then like both walk down the same hallway and then enter the same hotel room. They're like brothers,
Yeah.
That's funny.
Rusty, you've got a lot of
I was gonna say the one power Oliver has and Todd has the same power is making people around him play really good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
100%.
that's definitely a superpower of his is making you believe like, oh yeah, we're gonna dominate these guys, and instilling that. And then living it. Like not just saying, hey, we're gonna dominate these guys, but be one of the guys that goes out and does some dominating, and then you just jump on board. So
I call that the rising tide that raises all ships.
Yeah.
That's what those guys have. And not many people have that.
Yeah. There's some people that have the opposite. They're the ones pushing people under the water.
Exactly.
You played with guys like that. You're like, this guy's bringing me down.
Yeah, no names, but yeah, absolutely. Dude, what's your favorite memory in paintball, man? You've got tons of them, I'm sure. But what's the memory that really stands out for you?
I'm trying to think. I was just thinking about the other day. I was thinking about our win in Tampa, just nostalgically thinking like how we went there with such a like, I don't care, all these guys suck kind of attitude. Like we were in the NXL and we were training hard, and we were playing like, I don't know, insane amount of points. So your training level was super high. In the tournaments, you're playing like 20, 30 points a match. Like it was like a full-blown war, but like your development and your how good you could get was like very magnified in that time period.
For sure.
So it was like, let's go over to the MPPL. These guys like play 7-man games. They're probably playing like 5 games a day. Like this ain't shit. Like let's go gut these guys. And they think they're all like, and you're sort of pissed because like Dynasty's over there winning tournaments, and you're like, I've had enough of this. I'm sick of this shit. So we kind of showed up there, and it's like the name Infamous sort of fit like our mentality. It just worked out. And that was just like, overall, we were just like, just had the feeling like things are going to go well. We're just going to go here and blow this thing up. And that was a cool tournament. When you get in a tournament and you have that like feeling where it's just like, there's not really anyone, it's going to be us in Dynasty. There's not really anyone here to compete with us. And then we're going to take them down. That was just sort of the like, and then we came with an edge. Like we were like angry, and then we were angry the NXL's kicking us out. So we're like, whatever. So that vibe of that tournament was pretty fun. At the end of it, I sort of, if there would have been an MVP, I would have got it. Like I had an insane tournament. I won like a 4-on-2 from like a bad position. Like it was just like lights out for me during that tournament. Chris had a great finals where he shot a lot of guys. I made some good moves in the finals, but the overall stretch of the whole tournament, like I didn't die much, and I was in and I was in the front. So like that was when like I'm running to far places and I'm like surviving the games. So that was like overall a good tournament. And I sat one game and we barely won. And I was like, this is trash. I'm not sitting anymore. I was like, I'm done with this. And then at the next game, I shot like a handful of guys. And I was like, yeah, I'm playing the rest of the tournament. Sorry. Like sit someone else or whatever. We had like an even man rotation, but I sat like early and like we struggled against like, I don't even, because you played a mix of like pros and semi-pros or whatever. And I don't know, we played some team I don't remember, but I was like, dude, you guys are struggling. Get off the field.
Dude, I love that that's your favorite memory because Chris talks about this as well. He talks about falling asleep in a rental van with, I think, JR, and then waking up and just seeing the Tampa billboard thing and was like, are you ready to go win this tournament? And John's like, yeah, let's go win this tournament. And then I don't know if this actually happened, right? But he's in a center, like it's in the finals and he's in the center car wash or something. And John's next to him again. And Chris says he looks over at him. He's like, are you ready to win this tournament? And John's like, yeah, I'm ready to win this tournament. And then they like run through together. No idea if that actually happened. But
they made like
that's how Chris tells it.
A nice soft eye contact. He's like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to go bunker skinny.
Yeah. And then right when he said it, he goes, shh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That good chance that did happen.
Yeah, for sure. Totally.
I remember right after too, we weren't like an angel team at the time. We shot intimidators, but
yeah,
we immediately went straight up to like they took us straight to the angel, like VIP, the deck above the whole field. I don't even remember, but like that Tampa field had like insane stadium seating. Like it was like triple deck of bleachers, huge thing, and upper deck like VIP area. So they grabbed our team, took us straight up there, and it was like open bar. Like immediately, like we did awards and we went up there and it was like Jägermeister getting poured on my shirt and the trophies covered in like goop. But it was like they were just so happy like that we came in and like made something interesting happen. They were just like, we were just partying and going nuts. And it was, I still have the shirt that I had. There's another funny story. It's like I saw the shirt that said win Rocky win, and like I'm like, oh, I just have one that says win Rusty win, and that'll be like a funny shirt. So then I put it was a white shirt and I just got it made and I folded it up and put it in like a little Ziploc and it was just in my bag. So then we won the tournament and I was like, oh, what a perfect time to like bring this thing out. So then I put it on for the awards and it had that shirt win Rusty win, which that's probably awesome. Most people didn't know that was like Rocky Balboa had a shirt like that.
Yeah.
So they're probably like, oh, this guy's an idiot. Like he has some stupid shirt of himself. But I thought it was super funny. And then that I still have that shirt. Like that would be one of my relics like up in my attic. But I still have the shirt and it still has brown like Captain and Coke spilled all over it. Jägermeister. Yeah. It still has stains from like the party from above.
Dude, you probably have so much cool stuff.
I have a super secret bin that's like an attic. And then Tyler Harmon recently came over to raid. I gave him an Abyss headband. He's like, let me see what you got. Like, I'll wear it or whatever. I was like, so I'm like, well, I have a ladder. And he's like, I'll bring a ladder. So he brought a ladder over to get up in my attic. So we get the ladder and we go up in the attic. And I have this bin. I open it. And he's like, yeah, I want that right there. And that was like a headband that like Glenn Takamoto sewed like next door when we were roommates. He's like, him and Jason Barrett are like sewing headbands. I mean, they should have kept with it. I guess that's a big industry now. But they're sewing these headbands on a sewing machine and like we're getting them like heat pressed with Abyss or whatever. So I still have one of Glenn's. What
is the meaning of that?
So the Abyss was from Dave Chappelle, where it went into like the who was the guy that Rick James. So Rick James was like, he had something where he was like, would go into the abyss or whatever, like black out and whatever. So on Excessive, we sort of had this clique called the Abyss, was basically they were like, we're going to tournaments, don't have a sip of alcohol, don't do this. It was like a don't, which, you know, that makes people want to like do things. Like I probably would have went to tournaments and not did those things, but when you're like, you have to do these things,
Forbidden
don't
fruit.
do these. Yeah. So we're like,
Yeah.
to hell with that. Like we just busted our ass all day. Like, let's have a beer. Like, what's the big deal? We're not like going out. So we'd like meet in a hotel room and like have beers, hang out and chat. And then like when people would come, we'd be like, who are the people? Like, who is it? No, it's Thomas. Thomas is a narc. Like he's in the system. And we'd be like, hide the beers. Okay. Like he's here, we're hanging out. And then like, if he leaves, we're like, all right, back to business. Like that was just
as soon as he leaves, you hear clink, 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 the bottles and all that.
Yeah. He's like, ears on the door.
Oh,
there were certain guys that were like plugged in with like the, you know, Thomas lived with Rich and all that. But, you know, we just had like, here's the people that, you know, are in the same lane as us. And it just became like a little clique. And it was like more of a fun thing. It was like no one completely knew what the meaning was, but you knew what the meaning was kind of thing. And then we're like, all right, we started like Glenn or Barrett was making headbands and different things. And there was another time we had these bandanas that were made. I don't even know who made this stuff. I think Duffy made stuff. We had t-shirts at one point for some reason. And we had bandanas that like you could tie around and had Abyss. At my brother's bachelor party, we were in Mexico and everyone was wearing these bandanas. Like hindsight, like we probably looked like we were cartel members.
Sure.
And we're just in the club, just like hammering beers and everyone had these bandanas, Abyss. And like, I mean, we didn't have problems. We probably should have, but like, it was just crazy back then.
Who was your favorite teammate over the years? Like who's someone that's just like your boy?
I mean, that would be like probably, I'd say Brian Fowle and I probably clicked the best in being on the same page. Like me and Brian always saw eye to eye, and like we're the guys who like everyone trashes the house and we're the guys cleaning up the house, or everyone leaves the practice, we're cleaning up all the boxes and making sure things are nice. We were a bit more on the organized, make sure everything's good side. And then you had guys that just didn't care or didn't dawn on them to do certain things. So me and Brian were always like on the same page. And then like, obviously me and John Richardson were like best buddies the whole time. I went from Infamous to Excessive with him, came back to Infamous with him, had a pretty good chunk with him. So those are probably, you know, the teammates I clicked the most with. Like John was sort of looked after me early on in my career. Brian, those guys looked after me in terms of like guiding me and where I got to and stuff like that.
Do you have someone who you feel like you really enjoy watching play, whether they're retired or not? Like who's someone who you think is just really awesome to watch?
I'd say like Todd Adamson.
Yeah.
Because I was at a tournament in San Francisco, one of those like West Coast Classics or whatever, one of those 10-man tournaments. I went with Dynasty. And like just watching them, this was like early on when the 10-man movement was happening. So this was like when guys were showing up out of the woodwork, like Danny Love came, like guys that like you just hadn't seen for like a decade. And you're just like, oh, like that's cool. These guys are showing up to these tournaments. So, but I remember watching like Todd and Billy Saransky and they're in Paxson. There's like 3 of them in the back line of like Hyperball, and like bodies are coming in and they're just chopping them down. Like not like they had like hit pause on like paintball and then like hit play and like didn't leave much. And they were just like, you know, they just had the magic. So I just enjoyed watching, like, you know, you don't want to see like the guys, you're like, these are the guys. And then like a decade later, you're like, oh yeah, they used to be really good. It was like, I was like, man, they're still like good, which was cool. So
that is cool.
I really enjoy watching him because he's exciting and he just is really good.
Yeah. No one wants to see a fall from grace. Like no one really wants to see
right.
that,
You're
right?
like, don't come back.
Like, yeah. Just stay retired.
But most of the guys that have that, they have that IQ. Like they come back and they still have that game IQ. And you can see that. Even though their skills, like once in the tournament they come against like a pro player that's like competing all the time, there's a gap there. But when it comes to like knowing what to do in the game and those sort of components, like they're right there in terms of that.
You know, we were just talking about Abyss headbands, and I wanted to ask you what your most cherished paintball item was. And Rusty, I was hoping it was the Angel LED, the orange and yellow brush stroke Cobra Angel LED. I got to use that at my first big 10-man event. I remember you let me use it. I wanted that gun.
That gun was magic. That gun shot. Like when you get a gun that shoots really good, that was one of the guns that like shot just really well.
You didn't even need to own a squeegee.
Yeah, it was a mint gun, and you could pull it out and shoot it. I've played with it a couple random times. I'd have to find someone that had like an Angel charger and like recharge it or whatever, but that gun shot so well. But that actually went to Trevor Swindell, who's like a massive, massive Angel collector. Like he probably has a museum of WDP. And he was like, he hit me up and I was like, no, it's not for sale. Like, why would I sell this thing? Like I've been dragging it around for so long. He's like, all right, same time next year, I'll send you a message. I'm like, all right, cool. He messaged me next year. I'm like, nope, same answer. And I did that for like a long time. And then I was cleaning out my basement in Canada and leaving Canada. And I was like, why am I dragging this thing around? Like, and then it was like, all of a sudden it was like the timing. He sends me a message. Hey, just sending my annual message to like offer you money for your Angel. And I was like, you know what, man, you've broken me down.
Today's your lucky day.
I was like, you win. I actually have the invoice from that. I found it the other day. I should mail that to him so you can have the
invoice. Do you miss it? You miss that gun?
I was walking with my buddy through Lowe's today and I was like, we were talking about something where it's just like, it is like cool to have something, but you're like, it is a paperweight.
Sure.
So you're like unless it's small and easy to move around, it was like in a bag and barrels and it had like a whole, like it's just taking up space. So I was like, if someone else is like, to me, it wasn't bringing me joy. If someone else is like going to cherish this, and like he's going to have joy and pride in it, then I was like, that's a good home for it. So I felt like it went to a good place.
There you go. I mean, you got bins of stuff, obviously. You've got a ton of memorabilia. What's something that you can show us?
I like this sort of stuff because it's small. So I have a medal, which I was like, I used to have all these trophies and I would like lug these. If you've ever actually got a big trophy and then move somewhere, you'll realize trophies suck because you get to A to B and this thing's all boxed and bubble wrapped. And then you get to A to B and all the nuts and bolts had fell off it. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle to put back together. And you're just like, dude, those big, like tall MPPL ones, those are just trash. They're meant to go one place and get dusted.
Stay there.
Yeah. I moved it around like a couple times and some of them I just went to a dumpster and threw them in. I was like, it's just a mangled mess.
Yeah. But you have pictures anyways, you don't
pictures of them and I have the memories, but these little medals are like easy. These are easy to keep. So I have like a whole pile of these medals, but this one is like especially old. 1999. The GWS was the Great Western Series. So this was my rookie year, 99. And we were like a team to beat that never won. Like we were always in it, but like this event, I mean, if you went up to like the scoreboard, it was like 100, 100. We were just maxing people out. And it was fun. Like we were just like having a good time, like just waxing people. And that tournament was just so much fun. And then we ended up winning it. And that was our first like 5-man win of our rookie season. So that to me was like one that I always just think that was just such a fun event with my brother and all the guys we played with. So that's one, eventually the kids have like, like, what is this crap? But eventually I can tell them, stories.
It won't mean anything to them unless, they play paintball.
And I can't even let them wear it. I mean, it's old. It'll probably fall apart. It's got, it's dated. These things these are not well built. It's not like an Olympic medal. These things have little tiny pins that hold them together. But you know what? The other cool thing is you got with this was like the funny part now is like they would give you like a little bottle of oil, which was just funny. You win this KC oil when you won these Great Western.
Oh, right.
Reds packs, harnesses, and like these little bottles. It's like a lifetime supply of like oil for your autococker.
Yeah. Gold cup oil. A little bottle like that lasts you forever.
But it's trash, but you at least wanted like to take a picture with one because if you won one, you're like, yeah, look, I got like this stupid thing that everyone always gets when they win a tournament. So I remember we took pictures holding our like KC oils, like laughing.
Rusty, what advice would you give to someone who wants to make it to the top? And let me just preface. I mean, you've been winning paintball since you were a rookie player. You've won at the highest level. You've coached at the highest level and won as a coach at the highest level. So you've won from behind the gun and from behind the clipboard. If you could give someone a piece of advice, what would it be?
I'll give you two pieces, because I've thought about this, and you can compare it to other sports too. But one, you have to find the edge for the level that you're in. So you can't look at a Greenspan and be like, I'm going to do what he's going to do. Like he's looking for the edge on the level that he's in. So what's the edge? And that changes. Like, I'm going to work on this, so I have the edge over. So like back in 99 is like, if I can learn to shoot left-handed, like I now have the edge over people because no one shoots left-handed.
Yeah.
So that would be a clear edge. Now I'm going to start doing drills, switching the gun, holding the gun in my left hand. So to me, that was like a clear edge. And now I create separation. And now you start to get on the radar, like, okay, this guy's good. That was all just from finding the edge. So in your training is like, I'll give you an easy example. Layout drops. You wait to get there on Saturday and get your ass kicked and figure out how the layout works. Or you look at the layout, you name all the bunkers, you draw out some game plans, figure out where you're going to go on the field, get your ass out there early on Saturday morning, get out on the field while everyone's putting on their pajama suits, get out on the field, look around, get ideas, get down the field, like have a plan. So then when you say game on, like you have an edge. You just gave yourself an edge. You came with the mindset, and now you're eating people up. And now your coach is like, oh yeah, like I'm definitely going to play this guy. How'd that happen? How did you create that opportunity? You just saw that no one does this. No one looks at it this way. That's the edge. So you got to constantly be looking like, what is the edge in this competition? If we can learn to shoot off the break in divisional paintball, yeah, we're definitely going to have the edge, because most people just like to play paintball. So let's invest some of our cases of paint to like always within our routine be shooting on the break, or like, that's just examples. But where can we get the edge? And not just like looking at the pros and saying like, that's how to do it. Like look at your own division, because that's where you're at.
Yeah.
What's the edge here? What can we do to get the edge here? And then you get to the next division. You're like, that's different. The edge we had there is now like commonplace here. Like everyone does that. So now what's the edge in this division? That's constantly. And then all of a sudden you get all these edges and you're like getting picked up by a pro team. And it's just because you were a step ahead with this advantage all the time. So you have to discover that.
Discover your edge.
Yeah. Always find the edge. And that's all sports. If you're playing soccer, most of these kids can't do this at this age. So do that. Work on that. Add that to your game. Now you have an advantage. And then next year, you're going to have to find a new edge, or constantly there's more stuff. But seek the edge. And stuff like BKI Paintball obviously helps with that. You can go there, find a drill. Try not to get lost in it. There's a big library of stuff. So it's like, it's like comparing, I want to learn how to play golf, and there's 400 videos. Like, you need to know, what am I actually what are my problems? I'm getting shot out of my bunker. So my problems are gunfighting. So let me watch some gunfighting stuff and study how some of these guys do it and solve that problem. So
you have to be aware of what your weaknesses are to actually address them.
Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to view it like, here's why most people don't make it. They cheat the system and they're not honest. So like in practice, if you cheat, you don't address the issue. You just bypass it. Then when you get to the tournament, that's a real issue. So what your teammates thought was like not an issue is now an issue. And you're like, well, he was making it in practice. It was like, yeah, you were just cheating or bypassing, or you're taking a lot of bounces. Like, you never actually said like, actually, that's not going to work very good. Let's try this or whatever.
Yeah.
Usually ego like overrides people, where they're like, instead of addressing their own problem, they're usually pointing at another guy saying like, well, why didn't you do such and such? Instead of just being like, man, this is the problem I'm having. And then having your teammates say, hey, I could just get out to the corner and help you with XYZ. Problem solved. Instead, they're like, well, they're not doing anything on the other side of the field, is usually the story you get. And it's like, how's that solved the problem? You're on your side with your guy. How's blaming the other side for anything, or pointing the finger at someone help anything? So most people don't want to. Ego's the enemy. So most people want to like shield and deflect, instead of thinking, yeah, let me take that on and let other people give me feedback. Sometimes aggressive, sometimes in the right way, but like, doesn't matter really. If you push your ego aside, it doesn't matter. If a guy yells at you, you go, you're right. And even though you
Got
said
it.
it like an asshole, that's the right answer. And that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
So people's egos usually get in the way. I mean, most people that aren't at the pro division don't even show up to the training stuff.
Yeah.
If we're like 7 professional players out training people, who should be there? Division 4 players who are way far from the pro division, or the guys that need the extra stuff just to get what they're probably paying for everything, could be paying for nothing if they would commit to coming to training. Suck up your ego, show up and see if Ryan Greenspan can give you the last couple pieces that you need to get to the pro division. And I'll tell you, I promise you, Matty Clean came to the Florida event combine and didn't show up as like, I'm better than everyone, just showed up and then what can I learn and do all the drills that they're showing me. And then like got on the radar and then got on Dynasty. So, but most people won't do that. They're like, oh, I can't show up there. And then like, not, their ego gets in the way.
Totally.
So it's like, maybe the pros are teaching people instead of teaching little kids, they could teach you. So that's why a lot of people don't make it. The ego gets in the way. At that point, they can't find the edge because they're usually deflecting and bypassing the learning process. So they're almost like work their way backwards or whatever.
So drop your ego, identify your weaknesses, and find your edge.
And the last piece I would give, if you're at the point where you've almost made it and you're looking to advance to a pro team, study the pro team that you're trying to go to, right? If you showed up at the Dynasty practice, my first question is, who are you replacing?
Yeah.
That's an honest question. Where do you play? Who are you replacing? You're Tyler Harmon's your hero, but you're trying to get on the team. Like you need him to sit on the bench for you to play. So like these guys, like look around. If I have 4 snake players and you're a snake player, we might not be the best team for you to try and pursue. So it's like study the team and then study who did they pick up? When's the last time they picked up someone? Where did that player come from? Okay, they picked up this kid. Why? They practiced against the team he was on for a year. So that kid got on the radar. Well, maybe I should get on that team if I want to play on that pro team. So who do they practice? That could matter more than whatever team you're on. You could be like, I just want to get on that team because they practice damage.
Yeah.
And I want to then get to the point where I'm getting down the field on damage and they go, yeah, let's bring this guy to our practices and start having him play with us. So if you're at the high point, you got to study the team, what their needs are, and find a way to get on their radar via the practice time. At the tournaments, we don't see anyone at the tournaments. Like we're at the pro field and there's like my footprint goes from parking lot to pro field to parking lot mostly. Where I'm not over at the divisional fields like scouting and looking at guys. The practice is when you get noticed. So if you can get on a team to practice with and around a pro team, they're smart enough to know like, okay, I mean, that's how Blake got on Dynasty. We practiced Mutiny and he was running down the field against us. So we're like, okay, that guy's doing something. That's in my brain now. Like, because I'm coaching and I'm problem solving like, hey, we need to do this, that, load guns over here because this guy keeps coming down the side. Okay, well, that's in my radar,
So get on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Drop your ego, identify your weaknesses, find your edge.
Yes.
And we'll call it get in where you fit in.
Yeah. I mean, even winning tournaments in semi-pro is not getting you on a pro team.
Yeah.
We're mostly at that point, the teams in the finals are
watching.
we're just making game plans and going over what we have to do in the finals. We're not there like, let's see who in semi-pro is doing good. It's like, we're not even watching that. So it is a bit of networking. You have to, and you also are looking for fit. So does this guy fit in with our team? As a pro team, you're like,
as an individual, not necessarily a player.
Yes. So you're like, if he's around us in practice, we're joking with him. It's a guy we like. We could see going to the hotels and traveling the tournaments and spending time with. Then like that starts to ease you into the idea of like, hey, let's bring this guy. Could this guy be a difference maker with us? He's already making a difference with his team. How much better will he be with us? So that's the advice. Find your edge and then find the right path and study it and figure out how that's going to come together by practicing against a pro team.
Awesome. Rusty, what are you most thankful for that paintball's given you?
I mean, everything. I mean, even my wife came via like the Paintball network. So I was very fortunate in life to where I could honestly pursue my passion.
Yeah.
So I loved paintball, and I just took it as far as I want to take it. I'm still involved in it now, and there's going to be other ways I'm going to be involved in the industry. And I mean, it just provided. And I think that the important part was chasing your passion. I didn't do anything that what made me miserable. Is like everything was paintball related. Now, like I'm at a point now where I'm helping my kids chase their passions. My son's very passionate about soccer, so now I'm like went from volunteer coach over the years to now like I'm a travel coach, and I'm very involved in. I've learned all about soccer. You know, I didn't play soccer, but I already had a blueprint from doing paintball and coaching paintball that I just rolled that over into some of the same methods, finding the edge and doing those things. So like I know how to guide him and my other kids. So like if they're passionate about that, it's like I know the blueprint. If you have a vision of where you want to go, that'll help you get there. Because
success is success no matter what sport you're playing.
You just roll over. If you can get to the highest level, that's a pattern of behavior. So then you build that same foundational pattern in something else. And that's why sometimes you see you're like, how'd this guy roll from this sport to that sport? And like he's still in it. It's like they knew what it, or they decided not to. Like, because you either know the pattern and the amount of work it takes. So sometimes you're able to decide, no, I'm not gonna go that far into it because that's going to sacrifice a lot of things at this point in my life. So you sort of know like when to use the blueprint. But like with my kids, it's like, you know, let's pursue it, but you're going to work hard and you're going to follow the plan. Otherwise it's just for fun. And like, you know, you're not really meeting your vision. If your vision is to go far in a sport, then you got to invest in it. So,
well, I feel like the only way to do it is if you love something. Like you wouldn't have made it as far as you did in paintball unless you loved it, because doing the hard work didn't feel like hard work. You loved it. Like you loved shooting a paintball gun.
And no one's going to stop you. Like you like financially, you're like, I'm going to get the money to get a case together to go play.
Yeah.
Like in those early years, you're like, I don't know. Like you could look back and go, it was expensive. It didn't feel like that.
I was painting fences and mowing lawns.
And I'm spending my money to do exactly what I want to do. Like this is what I want to get my money, and I want to buy paintballs and go play paintball. So it wasn't nothing's going to stop you if you really love it and you find the right, you know, I always happened to be I was lucky and you were lucky because we had a big mecca in SoCal. So it wasn't like we were in the right place at the right time. There was tons of guys training, and as the sport evolved and X-ball came around, like we were in a good spot where we lived.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Love it. Well, Rusty, thank you so much for your time here. Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
No, I love what you're doing. I am you know, there's lots of different paintball nerds, and I'm a paintball nerd of sorts. Like Steve Rabikoff could be like, oh yeah, he'll tell you like a move I did in like 1998 or something. Like I have my nerdy parts, but I love what you're doing and how you're involved in it and the stuff you're doing. And the name was when I saw the name, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of funny because sometimes I feel that way.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a term of endearment, 100%. Paintball nerd, you want to be a paintball nerd. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And there's some guys that are like way like when I'm listening to them talk about things they think are interesting in like the game and the way they're looking at it. And I'm like, yeah, that's nerd. I mean, yeah. I'm like, I'm a nerd, but man, you just went there. I'm like, yeah, you're just analyzing this to a whole nother level, but it's cool. Like, so there's different nerds and you nerd out on different, some guys nerd out on equipment. Some guys, I nerd out on like the competition side of it and like patterns and what I think. And that's why I'm involved with the NXL and doing some of the pre-show stuff. Like I nerd out on the stats and the history, but all sorts of people have their like, you know, segments of like how they're involved in, and everyone's a paintball nerd essentially. I mean, you go around shooting gelatin balls at people and you get all into it. I mean, yeah, you're kind of a nerd, which is cool.
LARPing, dude.
Yeah, which is sweet.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Rusty.
All right, man.